As some of you might remember, during our last Dare to Share event, we shared how CX ambassadors can boost your transformation. Today, we are continuing in the same transformation track. In the upcoming presentation, our principal designer, Kirsikka Vaajakallio, and our CX strategist, Emilia Gustafsson, will introduce Hellon's approach towards customer-centric transformation and share best practices when designing and driving successful change. With that, I will hand it over to Kirsikka and Emilia.
Thank you, Juha, and welcome everyone to discuss how to drive change toward customer value. We thought that it's good to start by giving an overview of how companies' value formation and competitive landscape have changed over time. And already several years we have been living in the age of customers, where the most successful companies have been those who understand what their customers want and desire, and have been, of course, able to deliver that. The age of customer has had a different emphasis, moving from more day-to-day experiences to more transformative experiences. As a quite natural continuum for that, we are actually seeing that there's a new era emerging that we call the age of purpose. And in the age of purpose, companies still need to understand their customers and put efforts into becoming more customer-centric organizations, but they need to understand the value they provide in a wider context. So companies that want to succeed in this new era need to deliver more purposeful experiences, have a stance for a wider purpose, and have shared values with their customers and peers in different kinds of ecosystems companies are operating increasingly. And from the company's business perspective, this can also be called earned growth. In other words, in the age of purpose, it is no longer possible to succeed by transactional value creation and paid loyalty, but instead, the winners of the future will be the organizations that are able to systematically build earned growth, so really earning their customers' loyalty. And let's look at the key building blocks of earned growth, which are organizations' business targets, customer experience, and purpose. And finding out the best balance between these three building blocks will help organizations to build long-lasting customer relationship and active advocacy. And that will then in the end lead to earned growth. And then what the earned growth demand from the organizations, and especially from the strategic perspective. So based on our experiences, I will put them all here, sorry. So based on our experiences, it's about shifting the focus in a different areas. So it's not enough that you have in this kind of a general customer experience vision to be best in the class, like many organizations have at the moment. But you really need to have this clearly defined vision so that everyone in the organization knows where the company is going, why that's the direction, and how to go there, and how does it relate to my work and role. And that means that it's not enough to have this kind of customer experience as part of company strategy, but it really need to be in the core of that. And it also demands a change from presenting intentions on the PowerPoints presentations to ensure that there are the right capabilities, tools, and processes in place. And more on, the focus should be in increasing activities that help take care of loyal customers and increase the share of wallet within existing customers. Also, marketing activities should be in better balance between rewarding existing customers and reaching out the new ones. And as a ground rule, the focus should be on customer-based accounting, a holistic customership instead of transactional emphasis. And this requires shifting focus also in financial target setting, so that instead of looking only at product or channel or category-based accounting, you need to be putting the more focus on this customer-based accounting. So that's also a demand that the financial target setting needs to be different. and really understanding the financial value of holistic customer life cycle. So these different changes in the focus will help organizations to move into the earned growth. Okay, and then Emilia will continue from here.
Yes, thank you, Kirsika, and welcome also from my side. So we thought that now after this background and so what has happened like on the wider context, we wanted to point out a few key concepts and things that we think are really crucial to like crystallize and align across the organization before starting the change towards customer value. And the first thing is a few misunderstandings. And this is very interesting because we have been working with like hundreds of companies internationally, and regardless of industry or company size, these things are very common. And the first of them is that the common misunderstanding is that customer experience is about pleasing the customer. And this is something that is very important to tackle and to understand that actually if the situation is so that you are pleasing all your customers, it's probably a sign that you have not actually like focused enough on customer experience on a strategic level. Because if you have thought about these things, you have a clear understanding of what are the key value drivers for your customers that you really should put the efforts on, and which are the most important customer groups and segments that you should focus on. Then another one, that customer experience means customer service. This is a very common misbelief, and actually this is also maybe if we think about like creating this also top management buy-in, this can be a belief that hinders this or blocks this. So maybe in the top management they think that okay, this is something that the customer experience that it's taken care of, for example, by the customer service teams, and this is not true, because all interactions with the company are like builders of the holistic customer experience, and that means that, for example, also the bill you get for example for the company every month, that can be a critical way of building the customer experience. Or maybe the legal department, the policies made there on example, like how you gather data, what you are allowed to do, how you build your customer relationships, has a critical impact on the customer experience. So the whole organization is responsible and affects the final customer experience. Then the third one, that customer experience is about digitalization. Also very common, and here it's important to understand that digitalization, of course, is an important driver that has forced companies to really become customer-centric, and then also, of course, digitalization can be a way to provide a customer experience, but it's not alone digital channels, but also social and physical channels and touch points that affect the customer experience. And then the last one, that customer experience is a value in itself. It's very important to understand that, of course, we want to drive business objectives with customer experience. So it should always be tied to the business targets, and not something that we do and develop like apart from clear link to the business. Then two concepts that we also wanted to point out. So we have been discussing this a lot with different companies and with different like stakeholders within the organizations. And if we think about the situation today, I think that all organizations say that they are customer focused. So everyone understands that it's important. But there is actually quite a big difference between like being customer focused and then on the other hand, like being truly customer centric. And this difference is very important to understand and to have like a common understanding of this also within the organization. So customer focus, that is usually it means that you think you think about your processes, your products, your services, and then you think about the customer. So okay, so how could we make this the customer fit into our process the best way, or how do we sell this product to our customers? But when being truly customer centric, that actually means that you start by thinking about the customer. So you really try to understand the customer's context, the customer's process, and then fit your processes and activities into that context and journey. And this of course doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey, but this is something that you should be aware of and strive to do at least in some cases. Of course, it's not possible to be truly customer centric in everything straight away, but step by step, also remembering this perspective and raising it up when doing decisions, for example. Then we also wanted to bring up this customer experience maturity ladder, and here it's also important to like note and understand that customer experience, it's like the external perspective, it's the outcome that requires customer centricity, so the internal perspective. And this is also like an important link, so that you understand that, okay, customer experience, that's the outcome, but we need to be customer centric as an organization in order to succeed in the customer experience. And as already said, this is a journey, so it takes several years, of course, to be like truly customer centric. But these two perspectives, they go hand in hand. So if we think about the first level, where like you maybe from the customer's perspective, there is maybe you have maybe a few like good experiences with the organization, but then it varies a lot, like the experience, and you like it's not very good, the customer experience. That often means that customer centricity within the organization is poor. So it's only one of projects that you do. You have no CX leader, no resources, no metrics. Then on the second level, you have an overall smooth customer experience, but it's not very differentiating, memorable, or actively engaging. And then often internally, customer centricity is understood as a critical thing, but it's more like an operation model. It's more like you have the processes in place, you have done some trainings and things like that, but customer centricity is not truly internalized like value within the company. And this is where we then come to the third level, so where like customer centricity truly is like in the DNA of the organizational culture, is in the core of the strategy. And that's when you then are able to provide like clearly differentiating and unique customer experiences that build competitive advantage and growth. It's also important to tie the customer experience and customer centricity into clear like business targets and objectives. So this is very crucial in order to get also the buy-in for this for this change and focus in customer value. And there are several different business benefits that you can gain from improving your customer experience and customer centricity. And first one is, of course, revenue growth. So higher customer retention, higher spending, more recommendations. But customer centricity can also significantly improve profitability and cost savings. So when you have good customer experience, you have less customer contacts and complaints, less rework, less time spent on customer acquisition, more efficient resource use, and faster development cycles. It also gives you strategic benefits, a more stronger differentiation in the market. It's more difficult for competition to copy. So nowadays, customer experience is maybe one of the only things that you can differentiate through. And then also it allows you to take a pioneering market position. And then last but not least, being like customer-centric and having like being very successful in customer experience, it also has a positive impact on the employee experience that is, of course, like linked with the customer experience. So you tend to get more motivated and satisfied employees, you have less employee turnover, and you're more attractive as an employer brand also. So these are different business outcomes and benefits, but it's also important to have a common understanding within the organization. So what is our priority? Because also when talking with, for example, management teams, there can be different understandings of this. So someone thinks that we should think on the profitability part, some other think of customer experience more as a growth driver. So also like aligning around these. Yes, and now we'll talk a bit about like the key, like the building blocks or starting points that you need to crystallize before like starting the actual change towards customer centricity. Still, based on our experience, it can still be quite hard to actually start the implementation and the actual change in practice. And there is a few like challenges that we have identified here, and then also solutions to this. So the first one is that many companies, especially if you are a market leader, for example, are in this so-called success trap. So it means that it's you are succeeding very well in what you do currently, that it feels hard to start like doing things differently or put focus also somewhere else in more explorative new things and opportunities and territories. But this is maybe the ground rule here is that you should actually like about 20-80, so 20% you should put of your efforts on also like looking at new opportunities, because we know there are a lot of these famous examples of organizations, Kodak, for example, that it can be then quite devastating if you don't look at these new opportunities at all. And of course, then linked to this is like the challenge to enable this ambidexterity. So as we see it, it's like really important that you as an organization strive for like metric structures and a culture that enables like both like this optimization of the current business, but then also like exploring like new areas. And there are different models how you can do this, and we don't have time to dig deeper into that today, but the point being here really that in the end it all comes down to resourcing and also so how you divide your working time and where you put your focus. So you can't like neglect this if you want to succeed in implementing change. And then the last thing, so this is also very common, that you feel that you never have the like right time to start the change. And here we find it very useful that when like starting this kind of transformation program, you should really like in the beginning map all the initiatives going on in the organization at the moment, because there is probably like several different changes going on at the same time, and how can you tie these all together and use like the momentum when there is already things changing, then taking this like customer value-driven perspective and tie it also to the ongoing initiatives. So not like starting a separate program, but building synergies. And one very powerful tool that can be used when like starting a implementation of a transformation program is the establishment of a customer value office. And a customer value office, it like consists of key stakeholders from around the organization committed to drive customer value driven change. And the point here is that it, like the forum, ensures a holistic and systemic perspective on customer centricity. And like the forum, it has the power to make decisions on prioritizations of like development initiatives and also on resourcing. So this is very crucial, that you should have like the power to do these kinds of decisions in order to steer the work and the focus in practice. And here is a picture of the customer value office and the different like perspectives that it should be looking at. And as said, this is a system, so all these different like areas, they're interlinked with each other, and this is like a very adaptive and scalable way of like leading the change within the organization. So of course, depending on the context and on the organizations, you might have like more development needs or difficulties in some of this, and should focus like more on some specific area, but you shouldn't neglect to remember like all these different areas, because if you, for example, do changes in structures or processes, that will also affect your culture. Or you can't do cultural change, for example, without ensuring that your KPIs and reward systems are aligned with the desired cultural change. So that's what we want to emphasize, that you really should look at all of these. And of course, you can't like change all these overnight, but you should. It's a constant process and journey where you look at these different aspects and ensure like alignment between them in order to then have them all supporting like customer value driven ways of working. Yes, now Kirsikka will talk a bit about how this can look in practice.
Yes, I have still a couple more slides, and then we can move on into the discussion with you. Sorry about this quite a busy slide here, but I will highlight a couple of main points here. So first of all, just a reminder that to succeed in the age of purpose, so companies need to master this customer understanding in order to find the balance between the purpose, business targets, and customer experience. And as Emilia just said, that so it doesn't happen overnight. And here we have the time scale of 3 years. But of course, it always depends on where you are in the transformation process, how big change it is actually in your case, how big is your organization, and so forth, in many different things influencing to that. But anyway, it's a long-term commitment and continuous development to become a customer-centric organization with capabilities needed for earned growth. And there are different activities that are typically needed as a foundation in the left side in the picture, not necessarily in this order, but they are the ones that will define the path. And it's important to involve the whole organization like said already before, that it's not just the one part that should be taking care of this customer experience, but everyone is involved. And that can be done, for example, by setting up needed cross-functional learning labs, which can then lead prioritized development activities. And here the important thing is to identify those quick wins that will provide proof of concept to ensure the investments, and gives also the best practices for scaling into bigger transformation initiatives that should follow after those, or be the continuation for those. And since it's a long-term program, it's also important, like Emilia was saying, to constantly monitor the customer needs and the business impact. So from the up and the down in this picture. And the customer value office, as presented by Emilia, is one of the ways that we can support constant monitoring and prioritizing the activities. And in some organizations, our role is smaller, and in some bigger, and it's typically also varies during the partnership based on the specific needs and the phase of the transformation. And then if we look shortly the typical outputs of transformative partnership from 3 different time perspective. So the short term, as an example, could be that we can help to create the common view on customer value drivers and most potential customer segments to steer the development work and the next steps in the transformation. For the midterm, I could pinpoint there, for example, this increased efficiency through more targeted resourcing and effective collaboration across teams for seamless end-to-end experience delivery. And then to give some examples about the long-term outcomes. So those are, for example, like already was mentioned about these different business benefits, so increased loyalty and new revenue streams. And then I will stop here with these 4 takeaways. So one important thing, as we've been saying many times, is connect the customer experience with business targets. Then the other one is to focus on needed capabilities and your organization's maturity, so that you really understand what you can do, when and how, and what kind of resources and support you need for it. And then the third one is identify those quick wins and demonstrate the concrete results along the way. And then the fourth, but not least, is taking care of your customers and employees, because those are anyway those both group of people who actually define in the end whether you are successful or not.
Thank you so much, Emilia and Kirsikka. Always a pleasure to hear your thoughts. To mention the next event, next Dare to Share, we are taking a small break, and we will return 8th of September to kick off the autumn season. This talk will be about CX measurements and how they can support your transformation initiatives. The talk will be presented by our account director, Marianne Parks, who has years of experience in helping clients plan and execute transformations. So the link to the registration will be visible in the chat now. So please make sure you click this link and all the other links before you exit this session, because after that they will be out of your reach. And we will keep this session open, so don't worry, we are not closing this immediately after. But with this, we want to wish you a great summer and see you during fall in our next Dare to Share event.